Hey guys, how are you all doing? In this video, I am going to show you how to take vinyl remnants that you can get even in thrift stores and the like, turn them into lovely, easy storage caddies to store your hats or your socks or your scarves. Yeah, a myriad of things you can store in these. They can be placed on top of a surface in your entry or in your closet, on your dresser, in your drawers. Yeah, let's get started. Hi, so did I mention I'm gonna be using some fabric samples to do this caddy? Yeah. Now it might not look like fabric to you, but there are two types of fabrics. There is woven fabric and there is non-woven fabric. Something like a faux leather is a non-woven fabric. Okay, so let's get into it. And what I'm doing right now is cutting the insert. So I'm basically doing easy peasy. Just putting the piece of remnant on my lining material, drawing alongside it, and then I will be cutting it out the same width as my fabric sample. Now, if you notice at the top and the bottom, it's longer than the piece of sample. I am leaving that excess on the insert because generally when we do inserts, we want to have that lip that comes over the unit, right? So it can be an inch for you, it can be 2 inches. And by the way, you use your own measurements. I am just using this piece as I have it, okay? So you can make it bigger. So what I am going to do next is fold my piece of fabric into half. And then because the top and the bottom were not square, I am going to go ahead and use my square to square off the, let's say the top and the bottom, because I have folded the bottom now up to the top, right? Now that I have drawn my square line, I am going to go ahead and use my scissors and cut off the excess or the unsquared part. Okay, now I am going to leave the fabric folded in half. And I am going to be using this piece of cardboard, which I am drawing around to cut out the corners of the half panel. Now, that piece of cardboard I have is 5 inches by 5 inches. That will determine the size of the base of your insert. That is the bottom of your insert that sits on the table. So if you want your insert to have a bigger bottom, then you go ahead and make the bottom, the piece of cardboard bigger. Now what I do is basically use my triangle and my ruler with my pencil to just cut out a square piece of cardboard from any piece of cardboard. I got that from a box and I cut it out. Now that I have drawn around the cardboard on the fabric, I'm going ahead and cutting out the pieces by cutting on the lines that I drew. Now I'm folding the piece of let's say faux leather vinyl in half, just as I did the lining, because it will be the same shape. I'm using my cardboard. I'm going to go ahead and draw around my piece of paper or cardboard, and then I am going to cut out the piece. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side because I am doing exactly what I did with the lining. The only difference between the faux leather here and the insert is that the insert is a little longer because, as I said before, we need enough fabric to do our double hem to wrap over the top of the caddy. There we go. Now I am going to go ahead and start stitching the insert, and I am stitching both sides of the insert. Now this is similar to how I do other inserts. So one side stitched, now I'm going to stitch the other side. Okay, so now I am going to open that corner that I cut out, and you can see exactly what I'm doing there, right? Bring it together, and then I am going to stitch across, and I will be doing the same thing for the other side. Now, whenever I'm stitching and I need to pause a little, I always make sure I bring my needle down into the fabric just so that the fabric does not shift around. Okay, so at this time, what I am doing is stitching off the hem, the double hem at the top. Now you want to make sure you fold your fabric over onto the same side that you stitched off your corners and your sides. Okay, so now I am done with the insert for now. I'm going to put it aside, and I have changed the thread in my sewing machine because I am using a thread that is made for stitching stuff like leather and vinyl. It's a 100% nylon heavy weight thread. And I promised myself I'm going to be doing some lessons on different stitches that you can use when you're making different home accessories or doing upholstery. Because what I'm doing right now is basically a top stitch. my top stitch to finish off my seam because I will not be flipping the fabric when I'm done. So it otherwise creates like a detail on the outside. And just like I did the insert, I am opening up the corners and then I'm just gonna stitch across. Now that seam that I just stitched on the side where I told you I did a top stitch, I do not want to open that seam, and I think I'm going to be saying it later in the video, but I do not want to open or did not want to open that seam, neither did I want to lay it flat. And so what I did was stitch up to the seam, and then I ended the stitch, and then I went on the other side of the seam and started stitching again. And I did the same thing for both sides.
I'm so sorry, I didn't realize the camera was not on. So I stitched up to this seam and then I ended the stitch and then I started again because I did not want to stitch across to push this down, neither did I want to open it. So therefore
Yeah,
I
so
just
that's what
went
I
ahead
was
and stitch
talking
up to it,
about.
start again and stitch up to it. And then what another thing I did was to stitch up the bottom here and also the other side, without realizing that the camera was not on.
So that area where I stitched and I didn't realize the camera was not on, I am going to be doing similar with the insert. So when I get there, I will point that out to you guys so you can get a better understanding of what I did there. So I'm just making sure the sides are equal and just sticking a couple pins in while I'm going around. And so I'm just gonna bring the sides together just like that. And then I am gonna go ahead again and do top stitching.
Okay, that's just about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch. So I'm just doing a flat surface stitch. And I'm not stitching right to the bottom. I'm just gonna stitch where it meets the other stitches.
And I'm basically gonna do the same thing for all the other 3 corners.
Okay. Now go ahead and do this side. I'm gonna stitch off all 4 sides.
So as you see, a top stitch can actually be used not only to make a seam, but to be used decoratively. Okay, so now that I have finished with Caddy, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the insert. Now, I did not have to do that. However, in doing so, it gives the insert more structure, right? So it fits better into the Caddy. And so right now what I'm doing is stitching off the corners of the insert with top stitching. So I'm just bringing the top together to make sure I find the proper place to do the stitching on the corner. Okay, so while I'm stitching off the corners, I'm just gonna say, yeah, a video is up already. It doesn't have all this like instructions because basically I just did the steps so you guys could follow the steps. But a couple of you guys asked about instructions, and one subscriber actually said she was disappointed because she's used to me telling her all the steps. So I figure I'd go ahead and do a voice over so that I could give you the instructions, not only visually, but verbally. So that's what I'm doing now, step by step. So drop it in the comments and let me know what you think. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Yeah, I was gonna say too that as a trained teacher, apparently if the student has not learned and the teacher has not taught. So here I am. I'm teaching. I'm teaching, okay, guys? Yeah, so this is a part I'm talking about that I actually had the camera off when I was doing it and I didn't realize when I was doing it on the caddy itself. So now I am doing that on the insert so you can see exactly what I did on the caddy. It's the same thing I did on the caddy. Okay, so check this out. I have done that side, so the other side now, see? I just bring it together just like that from corner to corner, and then I stitched across the base to help to give it more structure. And that's it, my friends. We are done the insert. And so what we're going to do, as the name suggests, we're going to insert it into the caddy. Just wrap the top over on all sides and we're done. You can use it to store your small items, your underwears, your socks, your hats, your scarves. Tuck them in your drawers, put them on the surface. Yeah, that's it. So I hope this was helpful, guys. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you so much for being here and for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. Now, if you don't have vinyl remnants, you can actually use any heavyweight fabric. Okay, so let me know what you think. Like the video, share, and subscribe. Also, watch these videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. See you in the next one.